Let's get you caught up on the latest news in the ACC because there's this big discussion about the ACC. And is the situation in the ACC really as bad as people make it out to be? Was talking to somebody about the ACC grant of rights, and I've had this theory for probably a couple of months now. I don't believe the grant of rights is the greatest grant of rights we've ever seen. It's not. Frankly, when you're locked into a contract until 2036, that's going to keep you behind your contenders, the other leaders, and those trying to keep you down financially, that's probably not great. But the grant of rights is a double-edged sword. The ACC grant of rights, while it is long, does give you some stability. In an era of expansion and contraction, it does, by the very nature of its length, give you stability. You know the money you're going to get. You know that you are going to get $30 million. You know if you perform, you're going to get upwards of $40 million. Like, you know the money you're getting. You can plan. You can have stability. Now, is that $50, $70, $100 million per school per season? It's not, and it'll never be. But I think if you are the ACC, how do you not consider what happened to the Pac-12 when we sit here and talk about adding Stanford and Cal, and everybody, Jake, is losing their mind because this grant of rights is the end of the world? Do you agree with me that the ACC grant of rights is not the jail cell that most people make it out to be?
Yeah, I definitely think it has its certain benefits and its certain flaws. Yeah, certainly it provides reliability over the long term. There's no doubt about that. I think that the only reason we're talking about the ACC grant of rights, generally speaking, is because you have Florida State complaining that they're not making enough money and that they don't have the opportunity to kind of boost that up and kind of grow their, piece of the pie as far as revenue is concerned in the conference. But you notice that the other members are not complaining about the grant of rights. You notice that while, there is some wide-ranging agreement that they do wish it was a bit shorter, so then that way they could renegotiate and get more money out of their TV partners, you notice that they're not saying that, the conference is burning down, and the conversation isn't that the conference is, really unhealthy or anything. So I think, it's a good grant of rights. It is too long, and that does have its certain downsides, but I just think, as far as these, programs like Florida State are concerned, I just don't understand why you would sign a grant of rights and then, a few years into it, start complaining about that very same grant of rights. And really, they didn't start complaining until UCF went to the Big 12 and got more money. Because that's really the conversation here, right? ACC schools are getting $30 million a year as a baseline, and you're going to get $6 million in incentive money if you make the college football playoff, and you get $4 million if you make a New Year's Six Bowl that's non-playoff related.
Right.
So it's not like you're not making any money, but you're just not making the money that the Big Ten and the SEC are making. So look, I get why people are a little frustrated with it. And when I say people, I mean institutions, universities. But at the same time, let's put this into perspective. The Pac-12 situation is not going to happen to the ACC for quite some time. That's the positive with the grant of rights.
At least not till 2036.
Yeah, so
right?
You've got this long run where you're gonna have stability. But at the same time, when that grant of rights does indeed come to expire in 2036, I would guess, and I think it's really difficult to say because it's so far away still, but it'll be really interesting to see how the conference goes about getting a competitive TV offer, because I think from today to 2035, when they would start negotiating, the landscape's going to change drastically.
I don't think it's a TV offer. I think linear TV, hey, let's throw an antenna up on the roof, that's dead. This idea that you're going to keep paying cable and satellite providers $300-400 a month for TV and internet is ridiculous. That's not the reality anymore. And I think one of the things that the ACC, the shocking reality in the ACC is your situation is not nearly as bad as several members of your conference are making it out to be. And I think one of the real questions in this conference, and I think it's very similar to the Pac-12, are North Carolina and North Carolina State a package deal? I think this is a big, big question.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's any doubt that they are. I mean, if it came down to brass tacks and North Carolina had a $100 million offer to go to the Big Ten, North Carolina's going to do what it's got to do.
Yeah.
But I think in the grand scheme of things, much like Arizona and Arizona State, I've been told that North Carolina and North Carolina State fully understand that they are a really powerful pair if they stick together. And I think when we start considering who's standing in the way and who the no votes in the ACC are, there's no doubt in my mind that North Carolina and North Carolina State will vote together. Mm-hmm. Whether that's a yes, but it's been a no, to flip those two to a yes is almost impossible.
Right.
I told you yesterday on the show that Clemson and Florida State and Miami are no's. Now, I've also been told they never really had an official vote. They kind of had a conversation and you can call it a straw vote or whatever you want to call it. They kind of had hey, North Carolina, what do you feel in North Carolina State? And hey, Miami. And I'm told that those 5 schools in particular are all no's. And you can't have 5. You can have 3 no's. And again, this is why I continue to tell you, we were told for 2 days that there was going to be a vote today, an official vote, an end of the line.
Yeah.
That's not happened. That situation has not developed or played itself out. And I continue to sit here and tell you that the ACC had better come back to reality, because I think this situation where you have the Carolinas, Clemson, and Florida State, and now Miami that are standing in the way of expansion. And the issue is those 5 schools really feel themselves. They really like themselves. And I'm okay with that. I totally get it. The problem is the rest of this conference wants expansion because there is strength in numbers. And if you are Stanford and Cal, you are not going to join this conference only to vote in 2 years to undo the grant of rights.
Right.
That'd be highly unlikely that was the case. So right now, as we sit here, there is no vote and there is no expansion because I don't know how you're going to flip those 5 schools to approve expansion. So I just don't see a path for Stanford and Cal. And I think it really is this split reality in the ACC where you have these 5 schools who think this is the worst grant of rights ever. And everybody else in the ACC, I think, realizes and kind of sits where I'm at. The grant of rights in the ACC is not nearly as bad as those 5 schools want you to believe. Mm-hmm. And, listen, I think if you are Stanford and Cal, you're making the case that, hey, we would have, in the Pac-12, we would love to have a 2036 grant of rights. Now, if we could go back and redo it again, would you put escalators in there? Certainly you would. Would you have an out in the middle? Certainly you would. But the stability and the consistent money, while it is not the highest paying job in the business, it's consistent money and it's stability in the long term. And I just don't see how that's a bad thing in today's college football climate.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing. And I think their main challenge and their main hurdle is figuring out, okay, how do we go about, maintaining our relationships with our TV partners and keeping those positive while also, figuring out ways to create new ones with, whether it's, with streaming with Google or Apple or, whatever the case may be. Like, I think you got to maintain the status quo, but also be looking to the future. And so, as part of that process, I do think that, the Clemsons and the Florida States and these teams that, are, I guess, this year nationally regarded as great teams, whether it's Brett McMurphy or just the AP generally speaking, like, these teams, you got to put these teams in the college football playoff national championship game. If you don't win the national championship, it is what it is. But I just think that, it's not, because when you expand the college football playoff, it puts less of a priority and less of a value on just getting in, right? It used to be, hey, dude, it's only 4 teams. So if you're in that thing, that's a hell of a year, man. But
but I think these 5 schools in the ACC recognize that if Stanford and Cal get in, their hopes of getting out are over. Mm-hmm. I think Florida State, Clemson, the Carolinas, and Miami believe that they are the best of the best. And are they? I don't know. I certainly do not believe right now that Florida State, North Carolina, and let's just talk football then. Clemson, national championship contender every year. Florida State, no. North Carolina State, Miami, no. Now, you want to talk basketball? That's a totally different thing. By the way, has anybody asked Duke where they are on this? Because I think Duke is arguably one of the most powerful brands in the conference.
Yeah.
I think Duke is a far better brand than Florida State. I think Duke is a far better brand than North Carolina State. I think Duke is 3, 4, 5 times the national brand that Miami is.
Right.
Clemson, it's a different situation. Clemson's a football powerhouse. Duke is a basketball powerhouse. I happen to think that Duke is a really good, profitable, powerful brand. You want to be in business with Duke. And I'm curious where some of the very quiet voices, including Miami, by the way, because it's not like Miami's been on everybody's phone and in there creeping into DMs trying to let their opinions be known. But I think Miami's really interesting here. I think Duke's really interesting here. And I think the rest of this conference largely is just along for the ride.
Yeah, and I think the unfortunate part about that is, like you were just saying, it leaves Stanford and Cal and the rest of the pack out to dry, because I just don't think that you're going to get to a place where you can add schools even if you wanted to. And so it brings me right back to, okay, well, Stanford said they're not going to go to the Mountain West, so I guess Independence it is, right? Because I just don't know where else you go. And I don't know, what today's Independence looks like on the heels of BYU getting into the Big 12. Because, Notre Dame, everyone's like, oh, well, Notre Dame's independent. Well, Notre Dame's independent in one sport, right? Like, they're not truly all in independent. And I think that that's a very different thing. So, we worry, or maybe not worry, but we feel like, hey, Notre Dame at some point is going to get squeezed into a conference because scheduling is going to dry up with these super conferences merging. And so
how could it not?
Yeah, how could it not? And so I wonder, if you're Stanford, what's the play? I mean, honestly, like, what are Stanford's best options? Because I look at it and I say, okay, you got a huge decision in this school's history to make right here. Like, if you're, on one hand, you could stay status quo, you could stay in just an educational powerhouse, run a good athletic department, use the endowment money, and be independent. You could do that. You could absolutely do that, and I think they'd be fine. But then on the other hand, it's like, okay, well, 5 years from now, if we're still running around in independence, what does that mean for our institution? Because $1 billion might be a lot of money, but that doesn't mean that lasts forever. That doesn't mean that you want to do that forever. So I
would agree with
choice.
that. I would agree. You don't want to do anything forever in this day and age, right? There's nothing that's forever, and I think it is a difficult choice.
Yeah.
I think you're exactly right, because I don't know that there is a plentiful financial decision to be made here. Stanford's not getting into the Big Ten right now. You're not. And I continue, I guess, to be the only one that believes this, because all I ever hear about is, how, oh, my God, oh, man, we have got to get to 20 teams. And
are you out of your goddamn mind?
I'm just going to sit here every day and tell you, 20 teams in a conference is an absolute pain in the ass. Like, just the idea of scheduling 20 sports teams is impossible. Like, we talked about this with the AAC yesterday, and all their, the technical term is affiliate schools. But the issue is, if you're an affiliate school with Stanford and Cal in a new Pac-12, who's really winning there? Let's say, the AAC, and this is probably a conversation we need to have, but I continue to tell you the AAC is not an option for this Pac-4. Because there's no affiliation or relationship in that league that makes you a ton of money.
Yeah.
Like, Stanford makes you money.
Well,
having a relationship with Stanford makes you money.
Well, and again, Stanford has the parachute, right? And I think it's a super important point with this. Like, when we talk about the AAC, or we talk about the Mountain West, or we talk about any other, G5 or just sub P5 conference. Dude, Stanford has the money to do basically whatever they want to do. Now, they don't want to do that, again, for 10 years at a time, but yeah, they got the goods to be fine for 5-7 years. They're fine. But Washington State doesn't have the goods, right? I don't think Oregon State's got the goods. Cal definitely doesn't have the goods that way.
Does Florida State have the goods?
I don't know. I don't think so, but I could be wrong.
Because you're in a situation now where if you're Miami, and to a much larger extent, if you're Florida State, you're not able to compete with Florida financially now.
No.
Because Florida's in the SEC. Florida's making exponentially more money than you are. At least $20 million a year. At least $20 million a year more, right, in their new TV deal. So if you're Florida State, that's going to hurt you in a lot of different ways. It's going to hurt you in recruiting. I think it's probably going to hurt you in brand and in NIL. I think this all becomes a much more focused problem for Florida State. Clemson, I don't know that Clemson cares about necessarily how much money Florida is making. Mm-hmm. I think Clemson believes they're the breadwinner in this conference, so they should be making more money than everybody else in the conference.
Right.
But you're lying in the bed that you made. So I understand. And again, if we're talking about somebody like Stanford and Cal, what does somebody in Clemson want to do business? Why would they want to do business with Stanford and Cal?
Yeah, and that's the question I think we just don't have an answer to.
Why, if you're Florida State, do you want to bring in Stanford and Cal? They're only going to add to your financial deficit in a lot of different ways, because now you're never getting out of that conference. You're never breaking that grant of rights. Mm-hmm. You're just like, all it's doing is making your life more difficult. All of this to say there's no solution. Man, there's no solution for the ACC, which is why I say, and why the title of the show today is, here's the shocking reality. You're not in this terrible situation that you're trying to make it out to be.
Right.
You have to find new revenue streams.
Yep.
You have to sell more tickets, more hot dogs, more beer. It's why I continue to say this absolute stupidity and hypocrisy of, well, we can't sell beer on college campuses. These young men are impressionable. Kiss my ass. You don't think they're seeing beer sales at the liquor store or at the Quick Mart or at the Publix?
Kiss my butt!
Like, what virtuoso are you trying to be?
Well, and that goes right in line with their thinking. I mean, again, and I don't mean to be repetitive with this, but remember why we're even talking about this. We're not talking about this because the ACC is behind the Big Ten and the SEC in TV revenue. That's not why we're talking about this. We're talking about this because FSU is pissed that UCF got into the Big 12 and is now making more money, $1.7 million more than they are on a baseline. And this is ballooned into a whole thing that's now turned into an expansion conversation because the Pac-12 couldn't figure itself out. So I just think that this whole situation reeks I love all the people who criticized, Utah and Stanford and all these Pac-12 schools for being academic snobs and pretentious and, hey, they think they are better than everyone else in the country. What the hell is Florida State doing? What are the ACC schools doing? Because as far as I see it, these 5 schools are saying, hey, we're better than everyone else in the conference and we deserve more money.
There's no question about that.
So why are we not sitting here saying, why is anyone feeling sorry for these ACC schools? Because I agree, you're getting paid enough money to be in a good spot, to be comfortable. You've got reliability long term. I agree, the unknown causes some anxiety about, hey, what does the landscape look like 10 years from now? But the reality is, what's your ace in the hole? Winning. Win on the football field, and you don't have to worry about the future. If you win, you'll get into a super conference.
But are you really in a bad spot if you're Florida State?
I think there's potential that the ACC could be in a bad spot when their grant of rights gets done because all the other conferences are going to renegotiate again.
I agree.
And so that's what I think these schools are trying to get ahead of. And it's like, dude, I get that you're trying to get ahead of that, but you're going about it the complete wrong way. Like, imagine if Florida State had said, hey, so guys, look at this. These conferences are going to all renegotiate another round of TV deals before we can. We have to fix that.
Specifically, and again, if we're talking brass tacks here, specifically, the Big 12 is going to run through this upcoming TV deal and renegotiate another one before the ACC grant of right expires.
Yeah.
The Big 12 is who the ACC should be worried about, because the Big 12 is going to do to the ACC what they did to the Pac-12. They're going to leave the ACC looking in the rearview mirror, because you can't tell me that Brett Yormark is not going to continue to break new territories, like Mexico. Like, you can't tell me he's not going to try and conquer foreign lands. He is. You can't tell me that the Big 12 isn't going to be a leader on the stream side of things.
Yeah.
Because we're not talking about 5 years and then all of a sudden we'll all worry about streaming then. Streaming's here now. ESPN is going directly to the consumer. ESPN's not worried about cord cutting anymore. They're worried about conversion to the streaming product. This is that Michael Crow comment that we saw the other day, or yesterday, I guess it was, where Michael Crow's talking about this new digital world. No, dude, that was 15 years ago. The new digital world is 15 years old. And you're either going to be in Michael Crow's shoes 15 years late, or you're going to be Brett Yormark well ahead of the curve against your opponent. That's what the ACC should be worried about. The ACC shouldn't be worried about Florida versus Florida State.
Yeah.
The ACC shouldn't be worried about, hey, well, what's the SEC doing and what's the Big Ten doing? Why do you care? Because you're not. I don't know how to break this to you. You're not competing with the Big Ten and the SEC.
No.
The Southeast Conference is so far ahead of you, you can't see their taillights in the distance.
No.
What you don't understand is the Big 12 is right next to you. They're not behind you trying to catch you. The Big 12 is right next to you. And if this Mexico deal plays the way we all think this Mexico deal is going to play, they're going to go zooming past you. Because now it's not just Mexico. They're already doing Rucker Park. They're already at AT&T Stadium in Tarrant County. They're next to you. They're right here. You can't tell me that you believe these 5 universities that are no votes right now for expansion care about your league, because they don't care. I think if you polled the Carolinas, Clemson, Florida State, and Miami, I think they would be indifferent. If the ACC died today, they would be happy. They would ask when the parade is.
Facts.
They would. They don't care about your conference. Florida State's not focused on you. They're focused on Florida.
Men's parade.
Right? They want to make more money than Florida. And I understand that. And Miami wants to make more money than Florida and Florida State and UCF and Florida Atlantic, who went too deep into the tournament last year. Like, your constituents don't care about you. And it's really what this is with Florida State. And maybe I'm just being an asshole about this, but what I think it is with Florida State, this is San Diego State all over again.
Mm-hmm.
They're trying, in my opinion, to torpedo you. They want to cut you off at the knees. And if you continue to allow Florida State to just keep pushing you, eventually they're going to knock your ass over. And they're going to step over you. And they're going to wind up in the Big Ten or the SEC. Well, I think that'd be a stretch, because Florida's never going to allow them in the SEC.
Yeah.
Which is something somebody needs to let Florida State know, by the way, you're not the bad MFers you say you are. Because where are you going to go, by the way? You're this great brand, Florida State.
Right.
And I'm talking just about Florida State. You're this great brand. Okay, cool. You make more money than everybody. Okay, cool. How come people aren't beating down your door to add you to the Big Ten? How come nobody's beating down your door to add you to the SEC? How come nobody's beating down your door to get you into the Big 12? Oh, that's right, because everybody knows you're an asshole and nobody wants to hang out with you. Nobody's inviting you to their parties and nobody's showing up to your party.
That's right, T.
Florida State, the dirty truth is you don't have anywhere to go. Now, if you're Clemson, if you're North Carolina, now, and frankly, in the Carolinas, NC State, in my opinion, dude, you need to be shining North Carolina's Carolina blue shoes. Keep that patent leather nice and shiny.
Right.
Because NC State, in my opinion, outside of the state and maybe the region, is not a national brand. North Carolina, Duke, I can tell you today, if it was available to them, the Big Ten would add North Carolina today. No doubt about it. If the Big Ten really wanted to, they could go to 20, and they could add Notre Dame, and they could add North Carolina.
Yeah.
They would do that today. Notice they're not adding Stanford and Cal.
Mm-hmm.
Had their opportunity to do that. Did they do that? No. They didn't, because the pain in the ass that 20 teams isn't worth Stanford and Cal.
Agreed.
I'm tired of the, and this is where, and apparently I pulled my own ripcord, and now I'm just running, but like, I'm tired of hearing about how great Florida State is, and we're this and we're that, then how come nobody's asking you to prom?
That's what I said yesterday. You got to justify your value. You're not good at what you do. You're not good at what you do. I mean, if you got to try and sell yourself, you're not good at what you do.
You're not a 6-foot blonde.
Yeah, so UNC doesn't have to justify itself. Duke does not have to justify
You're like
itself.
5'5", 300 pounds, bro.
Yeah.
You need to get that cardio in. Mix in a salad, Florida State.
Mm-hmm.
Improve your look and your brand. Okay, I feel better now.
Good. Excellent.
I don't know what happened. Admittedly, I think Jake poisoned my lunch today, because that was over the top. So why wouldn't we take a buck shot right now from Bucked Up, the official energy provider of the Monty Show? I see we are well over 1,000 comments today already. God bless you. I love you all. You're up next after I tell you about my good friends at Bucked Up. They want to send you, well, it's over now, because I got to tell you, there's one guy.
Not named Aaron.
No, Aaron Wilson's not winning the tickets today.
Nope, somebody else.
And Aaron,
in opposition.
There's only 59 minutes to go. But somebody take the sharp objects away from Aaron, because the late entry into this contest, whew, dude.
It's gas. It's no Florida State, but it'll do.
You guys, hit a buck shot right now, buckedup.com. Use the promo code Monty20 to get 20% off your purchase. I'm about to drink 200 milligrams of caffeine. And I'm about to get brain food right here in this here little buckshot. And what it's going to do is power me through the next 2.5 hours, just like you. Do you have that report? Do you have that pivot table? Do you have that? You got to write a report. You got to make a sales call. It's a huge sales call. This is a sales call that could put you over the top for the month, right? We've got 12 days to go in the month. Month-end close is coming. You need a big deal? Hit a buckshot. Hit a buckshot, think more clearly, close more deals, have more energy. You guys, I shot a great round of golf this morning. No. What'd you shoot today? You shot a 40. What'd I shoot today?
I don't know. You were keeping score.
Pimp's going pimp. 34. Shot a 34 on the front. We only played 9 this morning. Shot a 34. Like I said, why? Because it's 6 a.m. this morning. I was a little tired. What'd I do? I popped a buckshot. Had a great range session. Got right out on the course. Bing, bing, bing. Putter was going in. Boom, boom, boom. And I attribute it to buckshot. Go home. Hadn't had any breakfast. Go home after my round of golf. Lost another half a pound. Dude, I'm telling you, Bucked Up energy is where it's at. I use their collagen peptide, their whey protein, their energy drinks, and I use their buckshot. And it's fantastic. Buckedup.com. Make sure that you use the promo code Monty20 to get 20% off your purchase at buckedup.com. Let's get your comments in here as people. Why? Real quick, and I'm not trying to be a jerk.
It's Friday. You can be a jerk.
Do not DM me your take. I'm not reading it on the show. I'm not reading it on the show.
I mean,
Stop
we're
doing
literally
that.
doing a show. Like, comment your take.
You guys.
Like, bro.
Stop doing that. Mooncat, a West Virginia fan, for $5. The ACC needs to stop crying. They have always traded exposure for money. They were excited at first for their network. Are they going down the same road as the Pac?
Stop crying like a little girl.
I think it's a really good question. And I again, though, and I am no ACC expert, but the people I talk to are ACC experts. And I don't think this is a conference-wide problem.
It's not a conference-wide problem, but you know what is a conference-wide problem? The idea that you have a group of 5 schools.
Group of 5.
Group of 5.
Not that group of 5.
Not the different group of 5. You have 5 schools here inside the conference that are a pain in your ass. Now, luckily for the conference, the rest of the schools are cool, right? So you currently, the schools that support the conference are outnumbering the red asses in the conference, if you will. The difference between that and the Pac-12 is the Pac-12 was built on a house of cards, man. The Pac-12 was built on people playing two-face,
practices.
Dude. Yeah, but poor business practices combined with people going to meetings saying, "Oh yeah, we're all on the same page," and then going out and having conversations with other conferences. I mean, that's the genesis of the Pac-12.
That's true.
Dying.
Carol Folt at USC.
Right. So I look at what Carol Folt did at USC, and I say, we're not there in the ACC yet.
But I also want to be careful on this with the Pac-12. Carol Folt at USC is not the reason that the Pac-12 collapsed. Larry Scott and George Kliavkoff are that reason. Kirk Schultz is that reason.
Yeah.
That's why the conference collapsed. Carol Folt did what was best for USC. There's just no doubt about that.
We're out of here.
There's just no doubt about that. Mm-hmm. And the issue isn't that USC and UCLA left. The issue isn't that Texas and Oklahoma left. The issue would not be that Clemson and Florida State left. The issue is, as it is in the Pac-12 and as it is in the Big 12, what happens when Oklahoma and Texas leave? What did Bob Bowlesby do? Did he roll up on the floor in the fetal position and just crap himself for a couple of years? No, he didn't. He went and he added really good partners. BYU, UCF, Cincinnati, Houston.
We're on to Cincinnati.
Absolutely saved the conference. Now, it didn't hurt that Carol Folt raised a bird to the rest of the Pac-12 and said, no, I don't want to add these teams in the Big 12 and I'm going to the Big 10. That helped. But Bob Bowlesby made pragmatic business decisions. George Kliavkoff did not.
Facts.
He got arrogant.
Yeah.
He got egotistical, and it killed him.
Yeah.
100%. It killed him. But I'm telling you, don't let the narrative on the ACC seep in that somehow this is a conference full of felons and they're all schemers. They're not. It really is Florida State. Florida State, I believe, started a narrative that fired up Clemson, and then it just kind of trickled down. This is how it happens.
Schemers trying to control their little worlds.
One bad apple spoils the bunch. And now we've got five universities in this conference that are no votes on expansion.
Yeah.
So I don't believe this weekend we'll get expansion.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah.
Lance Johnson for $2. If Stanford and Cal get in, it will be for free. It will not be for free.
No.
Something else. And again, Lance, I don't know if you're new to the show or I will, again, just say it over and over and over again. Never, not one time has Stanford agreed to go to the ACC for free.
No.
They've never, ever said they would go for free. They have talked $10 to $15 million for the first 3 years. They've never at any time has Stanford or Cal, for that matter, because Cal cannot do that deal.
Right.
Cal is essentially bankrupt in athletics. They cannot do that deal. They've talked about taking $10 to $15 million for the first 3 years. What you're doing is conflating SMU and Stanford and Cal, and we're just all going to work for free. SMU in its thirst, and they are thirsty.
Well, SMU's a P5, aren't they?
No.
Oh, that's right.
And they don't deliver Dallas or Texas or wins. But they have all this money. They're all hat, no cattle. But
and
that's
all these
fine.
oil barrels.
That's fine. SMU has said we'll come into the ACC for free for 5 years because they have a. And now I love how all the SMU fans are like, it's not boosters or donors, it's an endowment. We're just like Stanford. Fuck out of here. You are not.
You're not like Stanford in
not.
any way.
My fucking
You
head.
have donors and collectives, and yes, they are well-heeled. But stop trying to tell me, like, SMU fan in my DMs yesterday, we're just like Stanford. No,
Don't
you're
lie
not.
to me.
You're the problem is you're not, though.
Yeah.
You're not, because you don't have what Stanford has, and you never will. You never will.
Well, that's the issue, isn't it?
SMU fan, God bless you. I love you. You are passionate, and you love your Stangs. But if I hear another SMU fan, hey man,
Guys.
I was thinking about it while I was
Hey, guys.
while I was drilling for oil yesterday out in the back.
You got to get stroked.
I was thinking about the fact that we're just like Stanford.
No, sir.
No,
You are not.
No, you're not.
Nice
One
try.
more time. Marlon Shaw, my dude, what's up? If Yormark plays it right, he could potentially renegotiate twice before the ACC. Truth. And I if I am the Big 12, I am pushing and pushing and pushing as hard as I can. As hard as I can to win a national championship in the Big 12.
Yeah.
As I am, and we've heard this about Brett Yormark. Brett Yormark's not the guy that's like, okay, I'm your business manager. No. Brett Yormark wants people to win now because he knows there's college football playoff money and there's NCAA tournament money, no doubt about that. But you know what else he knows? And I'll give you some credit for once.
Thanks.
Even though you're a back to front wiper.
That's right, T.
Which is fine. It's not. It's terrible. But my point is, Jake, stop it. My point is that Jake's been running this narrative out there. Well, Stanford, they're devalued because they haven't won in like 54 years. I think when you can say, hey, TCU, hey, Texas Tech, you guys remember in 2023 when everybody was talking about OU and Texas were going to win on the way out the door, and Texas Tech and that legend Joey McGuire swept in and won the conference, and then they shocked the world and won the national championship of college football. That's what this conference needs right now.
Hey, you guys remember Florida State? Yeah,
didn't they fire Mike Norvell in 2024?
Yeah, that's stupid.
I'm pretty sure.
Jackass.
You got to win. And I think the Big 12 is well aware of that. I think the Big 12 is well aware of that.
Yeah.
And I think this ACC thing, and Marlon, I think this is a really good point. The ACC is in this really pivotal moment in time. And again, for the record, just remember at 4:41 Central Time, I said this on August 18th, 2023. I do not believe at this moment in time the ACC will expand. I don't see an avenue to flip 2 votes here.
Yeah.
I do not. Because I don't think the Carolinas are flipping, Clemson and Florida State are not flipping, and I don't think Miami's going to flip. That's 5. So I don't see it happening. But they quite literally are at a moment where their future is going to be defined right now. Because they can't help themselves, which is what they don't realize. The ACC can't help themselves because the ultimate truth is, as men, we are carnivores. And right now, Brett Yormark in the Big 12, dude, rock hard abs like that woman is. Look at the curves on her.
Stay hard.
Who says no? Who says no? Nobody's going to say no to the Big 12 right now. The Big 10 had better hope that a year from now USC doesn't win that conference. Because
The USC.
I'm warning you that USC is going to do one of 2 things. They are going to go in there and they are going to struggle for 2-3 years. I doubt that. Or they're going to go into the Big 10 with Oregon and Washington, and all of a sudden that's going to become the Pacific Big 10.
I'm for real.
Because I just don't believe that Penn State. Oh, James Franklin, Coach of the Year, bro. Fuck off. What has Penn State done? Somebody explain to me, what has Penn State done? Are you going to lose to Michigan and Ohio State every year? Is that your goal? Apparently it is, because you're awfully good at that. My point is, if Oregon or Washington, because I think Washington, they're going to shock some people this year because nobody wants to talk about Washington.
Dark horse college football playoff team.
And the other thing that nobody's talking about, who's got the best football league in the country right now?
Pac-12.
You want to make a bet? I think I can make a pretty damn good argument. The Pac-12, they certainly have the best crop of quarterbacks.
Yeah.
But so do you think they're going to, do you think Oregon and Washington, Cal, Or excuse me, Oregon and Washington, UCLA and USC are going to have trouble recruiting over the next 12 months.
Oh no, I think, dude, I want to say I saw a graph that said that USC's got the #1 NIL program right now. Like,
Well, that's funny. Their conference is collapsing. How is that possible?
oh, that's right, because Lincoln Riley's a hop around different conference specialist, and he's going into the Big
Lincoln
Ten.
Riley sucks.
And now your
hate
Caleb
Lincoln
is
Riley.
going to be another Heisman winner out of the dead conference.
That's cool. You
And
score all those
then
points, but you can't stop
Next year, he's going to go out. He's going to screw with Ryan Day and khakis up at Michigan. He's going to make a Heisman Trophy winner, and then the Big Ten fans are going to be like,
no,
what happened,
wait.
dude?
You know what's going to happen then? Jake's still not going to say anything nice about Lincoln Riley.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Which is amazing to me. But if Oregon, Washington, or USC, and hell, Chip Kelly, he's never winning the Big Ten. But let's say UCLA somehow,
DTR's not there anymore, okay?
if they go into that Big Ten and they win, dude, how exposed are Ohio State and Michigan? I think it's massively exposed.
Big time.
Massively exposed.
Well, we haven't even mentioned Nebraska yet. Does Nebraska make a comeback?
I believe in Matt Rule and Trev Alberts. But my point is, the Big Ten's weak.
Yeah.
The Big Ten is not a power conference. The two best conferences in the country right now today for football are the SEC and the Big 12. And I will fight you that the Pac-12 belongs in that conversation, because they do until they're dead, which is, 11 months from now. But
It's a Big 12!
I'm telling you, a year from now, I think the Big 12 has a chance to be the best all-around athletic conference in the country.
Yeah.
Bar none.
Yeah.
Bar none. Crab cakes in football. Hell yeah. If Big becomes available, take Miami over FSU. But
Why? I mean, obviously the basketball program is good at Miami.
the question that I have is, who's the first one to go to 20? Honest to God, because this is not a bad question, especially because you paid me $2 to say it.
How about that?
You know. Here's my question. Who's the first conference in the country to go to 20?
Big Ten.
So if you're going to go to 20, are you doing it with Miami?
No.
And
No.
no.
Oh.
You're only going, in my opinion, the Big Ten only goes to 20 if they can get Notre Dame and North Carolina.
Yeah. And I think that there's a big time waiting game happening now. We're in the Cold War of expansion, if you will, where the Big Ten, the Big 12, and the SEC are sitting around, and really
right.
it's the SEC and the Big Ten are sitting around here waiting for someone to expand to 20 but do it in the wrong way, so then they can jump on that other team that should have been added in the first place. And so the question for me is, hey, who's going to be the one that stops being patient? Because Brett Yormark's proven to be incredibly patient, right? Greg Sankey, I don't know how patient he is. He may understand his conference's value, but when it really comes down to it, because the SEC hasn't been in the middle of expansion talks yet. We haven't seen Greg Sankey really under any type of pressure yet. So I don't know what kind of guy he is when it's like, hey, you got to go out and find a way to get, UNC, or you got to go out and, raid the ACC, let's say. Like, what does that look like? I think that's a fascinating question.
But I also don't think that Greg Sankey and the SEC are sitting there resting on their laurels. I think they know what's coming. I think Greg and the SEC are not, however, in a position where they control the direction of college football.
Yeah.
And I think because of the incompetence of the Pac-12 and the savvy of Bob Bowlesby, the former Big 12 commissioner, and now Brett Yormark,
Yeah.
that's changed. And my question is, what does Tony Petitti and the Big Ten do to bounce back? Well, you just added 4 really premium brands in USC, UCLA, Oregon, and Washington. That's a hell of a bounce back.
Yeah.
And the difference with the Big Ten is they have room to move.
Well, and
to
it feels,
20.
dude, and I think if I'm the SEC, the thing I'm worried about is kind of what you were getting at with the Pac-12 schools coming into the Big Ten and having a lot of success. Like, you look at hey, if you just look at it by conference, obviously the college football playoff has been dominated by the SEC and the Big Ten. But now I look at it and I'm like, okay, I can't really make the case that the SEC's got the better chance to win now, because I feel pretty good about, at a minimum, SC and Washington in the near term coming in and being a problem in the Big Ten.
Well, but this is also the question, and now we're opening up a whole can of whoop-ass, but why would they ever go to 16 or 20 in the playoff?
Yeah, I don't know that you should go to 16. I think 12 is fine.
Right, but it expands access to power.
Yeah.
And why would you expand access to power?
Yeah.
You're not going to do that if you're Greg Sankey. You're not going to do that if you're Tony Petitti.
4 was too little. We needed more than 4, but I agree with you. I don't think we need more than 12.
12 is just fine.
Yeah, 12 is fine.
And you can have at large, and if you want to throw the G5s a bone, cool.
Yeah.
But access to power is something that the SEC and the Big 12 and the Big 10 should not ever give up.
Yeah.
In my opinion, anyway. Dax Johnson, what's up, Dax?
Johnson.
Hey, homies, keep up the good work. Go BYU, baby.
Yeah, what you been up to, dude? I haven't heard your name in the program in a minute.
Yeah, good to see you, Dax.
Yeah.
Dax is a new member of the show.
Oh,
hello, let's go.
okay.
Let's
Go, baby.
Love that, Dax. Appreciate you. Net neutrality for $2 says Stanford needs to win more often. Why not the Mountain West Conference?
Because I just think it's such a step down. And again, it's this whole concept of the endowment, right? I mean, you're literally talking about a school that's got $1 billion sitting in a bank account ready to go for whatever they need in athletics. Like, dude, you're not, like, do you understand? Like, I'm not a math major, but if your athletic program is costing you, what, a couple $100 million a year, and you're making however much they're making on that, like, you're fine.
Yeah.
You probably got, I mean, I hesitate to say that they'd want to be independent for more than 5 years, but you probably got an easy 5 to 7 years just chilling.
I think easy.
You know what I mean? Like,
Easy.
they're comfortable. So why not the Mountain West? Because why would you take $4 million? You're talking about taking $4 million.
But again, the best analogy I've heard on this, and I want to say that it was Cowherd who said something, or maybe it was Rome. I don't remember.
Yeah.
But one of them was, somebody was saying,
Cow turd.
bullets won't kill you until they're fired, but the fear of death is what's intimidating.
Yeah.
And to me, if you're Stanford right now, because of your academic prowess and the revenue stream that academics are to you, people want to be in business with you. If you step down to the Mountain West athletically, I think it puts a little tarnish on the brand.
Yeah.
People are no longer in fear of you.
Well, it's like this concept of respecting the path you take. I mean, independence is obviously a more difficult path than going to the Mountain West, but it garners you a lot more respect. I mean, if 3 years from now, when the Mountain West TV deal is up and Stanford's a free agent again, they can come back around this thing and say, hey, Big Ten, hey, I guess Big 12, even though I don't feel like they're a Big 12 school, hey, dude, we've been independent, we've been independent the last 3 years, or we've been in the Mountain West the last 3 years. I feel like those conferences would respect the independent grind more, because you got to make your own schedule. I mean, dude, it's like what we always say, dude. Tom Homo pulled a rabbit out of his hat for
every game,
for
every
how
year.
long, dude? Like,
10
the guy
years.
is a magician. Like, it's ridiculous what they were able to build to, and then they get rewarded with the Big 12. So I'm not saying that's the path Stanford needs to take, but I do think there's a certain respect factor in the idea that, hey, like, you guys, your conference got raided, it burned to the ground, but you didn't panic. You didn't just run over to the Mountain West, and leave the P5 system because you didn't have anywhere to go. You went independent, you made a good schedule, you kept your money right, and now we can talk about being in business together because our TV deal is up. That's what I think Stanford's got to consider.
All right, Lonnie Goodman for $5 says that Stanford refuses the Mountain West Conference, they're even less of a fit for the ACC. I've never thought Stanford or Cal was a fit in the ACC.
Yeah.
Because, again, I think the thing that's made the most sense, one of our sources said to us, the politics of the ACC members would never allow them to vote yes on Stanford and Cal.
Yeah.
Would never.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the best points I've ever heard of.
No smoke.
Domer Wop for $2.
Hey, Domer.
Jake, great monologue. Excellent points.
Thanks, Domer. I'll work on getting my baby seat.
Yeah. Booster seat. Thank you.
Oh, booster seat. My bad.
Big Bad Brass Bulls.
Bulls.
For $5.
Hello, Bulls.
This season, BYU wins the Big 12, goes to the college football playoffs, and wins the Natty. Wait, damn. These monkeys keep flying out of my butt.
Yeah, seriously, bro. You need to chill out with all that, bro.
It's going to be a few years for BYU. Lonnie Goodman for $2. Lincoln Riley won't be at SC after this year. Why would he leave?
Why? Yeah.
USC?
Why would you leave USC?
There's not a better job
Bro,
when you're winning.
Has he not been given the job of his career on a silver platter? I mean, not only like USC in the Pac-12 is a great opportunity. Just before all this happened, like, hey, Lincoln, we're USC, we're in the Pac-12, come be our coach. Okay, great. I'll bring Caleb, bring the boys, we'll do some winning. That's what happened, and then it turned into a whole other thing.
Now, wait. On the way to you, Caleb is going to paint his nails. I hope that's okay. And he's going to actually paint insults departed at you on. Does he do that again this year?
Yeah.
Caleb Williams paints insults on his nails to the team that they're playing.
Okay, fuck you. How's that?
Dude, why? And Donuts, a member of the show for 4 months.
Go, baby.
Shot a 34 this morning, and Donuts. Thank you for the golf money. You respect the winners. Yes, you do. Winning brings you respect, there's no doubt.
This room full of winners.
Winners here. It's who you're going to be sitting next to. The Wolf of Wall Street's amazing. Lance Johnson for $5. Your mark is sitting back and waiting for new deals separating football and basketball. Man, I'm glad you said that. A huge brawl in the comments section last night about, and I love the fact that I cannot wait till in about, I don't know, an hour and a half. We're going to talk about this Elon blocking on Twitter thing.
So dumb.
The brawl that happened in the comments section last night about how nobody gives a damn about college basketball, that football's where it's at. And I read that and I'm like, nah, I'm not getting involved in this. I woke up this morning and there was like a string of 100 comments. And I'm reading through it and I went to refresh it and it disappeared because you wouldn't believe how many people are like, F you, no, F you, your mom's a hoe. Like just getting personal with each other over whether or not college basketball is a legitimate revenue stream.
And I'll drop that motherfucker.
You guys, college basketball is a hugely important revenue stream.
Yeah, it is.
And I think the Big 12 right now is building the mold for this. Right now, they are quite literally crafting the mold for how to make money on college basketball. And I think Brett Yormark with his Rucker Park agreement, where they're doing clinics and teaching kids in New York City, the Big 12.
It's the Big 12!
This ain't intramurals. The Big
Don't
12.
play intramurals, brother.
They're sending their coaches and players to Rucker Park, and they're doing clinics and working with kids and forming relationships. Do you think they're doing that out of the goodness of their heart? Well, partly, but they're doing it because it's a revenue stream.
Yeah.
They want to be involved with Rucker Park, and they want the recruiting foothold. Why didn't they add UConn? Because they don't need UConn. They already have the best basketball brand in the country.
Bro, you're talking about a guy in Brett Yormark who spent 14 years with the Nets, dude. The Brooklyn Nets, dude. So, you know, the guy just understands, man, how to create opportunities for himself and his partners where they can make money. Because that's all that matters. What is the great ace in the hole in college football, college athletic expansion / realignment? Money. If you are a program or a conference that maybe isn't winning national championships, but you're making above board money, you're going to be fine, right? Because ultimately, that's who are we describing with that? We're describing the Pac-12, right? So they had a good conference, but they weren't making money. Winning or not winning was not a problem for the Pac-12. They were relevant enough. They were a good football conference. Like, it was fine. Basketball needs some love, but it was fine. Money is what killed them. And so I think what Brett's trying to do is saying, okay, I want to win in football, but I also want to win in basketball, and I want to make as much freaking money as possible for this conference because I know that that's an insurance plan.
Like, what happened to you today?
I don't know.
Like actually making good, solid,
I've been home last night and
formulated points.
Dude, I went home and I watched the Tim Tebow hype video, and so today I'm making better. I'm making better points today. I almost considered buying Tim Tebow's blood red stained jersey to wear on the show today.
You guys, if you missed the show yesterday, we had a Pier 6 brawl over whether or not Tim Tebow, God bless, is the best quarterback in the history of college football.
God bless.
And again, go look in the comments section. These idiots didn't get banned. But like there are people like, he sucked at Florida. I'm like, dude, you can say a lot of things about Tim Tebow. Oh, here we go. Hit me over the head with a Bible, which is what somebody said.
God bless.
All that's true. You can never say Tim Tebow sucked at Florida. But it's amazing how pissed off people got because I said he's the greatest college football player ever. No, he's not. Okay. It's okay. Who hurt you, sir? Like so many people got so upset over that.
Pissed.
Joseph Luarez gives us $2. Thank you very much. Tom Dean, one of the guys who said,
Tom Dean.
just because you win a championship doesn't make you great. Tom Dean compared Tim Tebow to Joakim Noah. It was like, well, Joakim has championships in college basketball.
Hey, Joakim has championships in college, and he sucked in the NBA.
Nobody ever said Joakim Noah was the best college basketball player ever. I am not alone in believing that Tim Tebow's the best college football player ever. Tom gives us $2. 16 is perfect. 3 rival plus 6 plus 6. Okay.
Okay, 7 plus A equals X.
The math formulas and
and stuff.
Triangulation.
Quadratic equations and the vernal equinox.
Yeah. Joseph Luera is $2. Cal, Washington State, Oregon State to the Mountain West or AAC. 2 minutes from now, we are going to debate AAC versus the Mountain West Conference. But we remind you that Papa Murphy's Pizza is the official pizza of the Monty Show.
At Papa Murphy's, we do more than just pizza. We do calzones.
Papa Murphy's does calzones?
Oh, I think you mean I do the calzones.
And how do you do it, Dad?
How do I do it? How do I do it?
Oh, well, we do it with fresh ingredients and hand-shredded cheese tucked in a scratch-made dough.
That's how, honey.
At Papa Murphy's, we make great pizza.
You don't forget the calzones.
Order now at papamurphys.com.